Hello everybody, welcome back to another Ubuntu Q&A. We're having a little bit of difficulty today with getting into our regular website, ubuntuonair.com. So I've posted the YouTube link into the IRC channel. Obviously telling you about the YouTube link on here is not going to do you any good if you're already watching. So we'll give everybody a minute to follow that link and get to where they're watching. If you guys in IRC can give us a wave or a shout out or something when you start to see this, we'll go ahead and start the show. Oh wow, we got a question already. All right, some people see it. Cool. All right, so as I was saying, we're having some issues with ubuntuonair.com today, so we're going to just kind of wing this as best as we can. We are still watching #ubuntu-on-air on Freenode IRC, so you can ask questions there and we'll still follow them. All right, we're going to have some updates and then we will take some questions from you guys, but you can start asking them right now in the IRC channel. Just start with the word question in all caps. And with us also today, we've got Erin Honeycutt, who is a member of the Ubuntu Florida Loco team. He's on the Kubuntu Council, and I believe also a member of the Docs team. Is that right, Erin?
No, but I'm a member of the Ubuntu membership board.
Oh, okay. So he's going to be talking a little bit about the activities he's doing with the Florida Loco team down there in Miami. But first, we've got some updates to give. Today we have another Snappy Playpen happening. This is something that we did last week that Daniel kicked off. The Snappy Playpen is a place for developers to test out Snappy packaging, look at some examples that we've been working on of different applications that use different languages and different build tools and whatnot. Daniel, can you talk a little bit about how the Snappy Playpen program works?
Sure. So snaps and Snapcraft, I'm getting a bit of echo. Can I mute you, Erin? Brilliant. Snaps and Snapcraft are quite new. They work very well, but as you've seen elsewhere, software uses loads and loads of different build tools. They all have different expectations on how things work. For example, when it comes to security bits, a lot of apps and software needs different access to different files and all kinds of things. So what we're doing with Snappy Playpen is try to build snaps from software projects we already know and love, and there we figure out what best practices there are for snapping software. So the way we organize this is that we have a Git repository on GitHub. We use IRC and Gitter to coordinate the work, and we've done some nice things already. So when we landed the first GTK apps in the Playpen, we had to write like a custom launcher command, which took care of just making sure that GTK was generally happy. Once somebody get this working, obviously somebody else, it's open source, so somebody else came in and copied it, made a few small changes, and we ended up with a couple of different launcher scripts. Today, David Plenhandler came up and wrote like a custom launcher that we can use for all GTK apps. So we're already seeing that we're learning from what others have done, and building up that knowledge together. And in the future, we're going to make sure that Snapcraft and Snapd take care of all of this for us. So I would call it a bit of a research project, and we're about, I don't know, 50, 60 people who are hanging out at different times, and we just enjoy building stuff, making it work, and improving the whole Snap landscape together.
All right, and do we have a URL to that Gitter chat? We can post it in IRC?
Yes. Yeah, I'll paste it there.
All right, so if you have any questions in general about snaps or building snap packages, you can ask them in here. If you have more detailed questions or need help with that, go to that Gitter chat room, and there will be a bunch of people there who are going to be there all day trying to help as many people as they can.
Yeah. So maybe a few more words on why snaps could be interesting to your project as well. One thing I like best about it is that you get, once you're done with your snap, you can immediately upload it to the store. It will be automatically reviewed and will be available to your users within next to no time. This is very different from what we used to have, or what we still have in the Ubuntu archive and in other Linux distributions. And with Snapd being installed on most of the 1604 machines by default, depending on which flavor you're using, it gets really easy for users to download the snaps you uploaded. The store also has the concept of channels, so you can upload like a Git snapshot to the Edge channel. You could upload like a milestone to the beta channel and the latest release to the stable channel, and that's and that makes it really interesting for users and for testers and for others who are involved in your project. You can also use Snapcraft Upload. It's the only thing you have to type to get your snap uploaded to the store. So it just gets a lot easier and more frictionless. You can also bundle dependencies if that's what your project relies on or where you have had problems in the past. So these are just some of the features which the whole Snap world offers. And you're basically not tied to a certain release date. So you don't have to have your app in the release by a given date. You can always deliver it whenever you see fit. And for now, I'm going to shut up about Snappy until we get some more questions there. You're muted.
Sorry about that. I'm going to hand it over to Erin now to talk about some of the events that he's been running in Miami. And also, Erin, if you wouldn't mind talking about how you kind of came to be an event organizer for Ubuntu Florida and what your experience was with that and any advice that you have. You're muted, I think. All right, well, why don't we go to questions then instead while we wait to see what's going on with Erin's microphone.
Yeah, that makes sense. Maybe just have a look at the mixer settings. Might be something there. Right, let me see. What was the first one? Okay, we had a question from Eamon SD. If the RDP client is useless in Wine, do you think with this new Microsoft company Ubuntu arching into open source shall help the situation, as it's a real bottleneck in the Wine community?
I'll be honest, I don't know what the issue is with RDP clients in Wine. I have not used Wine in a few years, and I don't think I ever tried it with RDP.
Yeah, same here. Do we have like RDP clients in regular Ubuntu without Wine, or maybe they need a specific?
We do. I don't know if he's saying there's a problem displaying Wine windows with that RDP client, or if he's trying to use a Windows RDP client for those windows. So sorry, Eamon. I don't really have an answer for you on that.
Yeah, same here. Okay, there's another question. Do you think that the value of British sterling is affecting the price of unicorn, zeros, goat, etc. t-shirts in the Canonical store?
It is certainly possible for the value of British currency to affect those prices, especially for people outside of the country. I don't know if that's actually happening or not. Watching currency markets is not high on my list of things I enjoy doing.
Yeah. Same here.
All right. CZ650 is asking, is there an official Dropbox client on the roadmap for Ubuntu Touch? I don't think there's an official one coming from Dropbox, but I believe on Friday there's a design clinic happening also here on ubuntuonair.com where some of the Canonical designers are working with somebody who's building an Ubuntu Touch client for Dropbox. I think it's an Ubuntu Touch client anyway. Anyway, we will update the website after this hangout to reflect that, and you should come back around and see that. Amon is not really a question, but saying, can we get a shout out to ubports? It's ubports.com. That's Mario Grip's website for where he tracks all of the devices that he's been building Ubuntu ports for, and that list just kind of continues to grow larger every week, it seems. Also /r/Ubuntu App Showdown on Reddit. That's a subreddit that we use for people to. It was originally set up to support an app developer contest, but now it's kind of being used for people to talk about apps that they would like to see made as well. And then also something about an iCal inclusion Ubuntu Touch bug on Bounty source, although he didn't provide a link to that. If you can provide a link to that Bounty source bug, that would be even more helpful. All right, next question, or questions really. There's 3 of them in a row, all about the HUD. No, we don't have an update on that. I've just been pinging the Unity 8 development managers and Mir development manager to see if we can get them on next week to talk about this. So stay tuned. I will let you know how that pans out.
Yeah, also if you go to code.launchpad.net/HUD, I'm sure there's a watch this branch button somewhere. So as soon as updates land, you should be notified.
Is it just HUD? Is that the project name?
I thought so.
Okay. All right. Chloe's asking. She says, with the messaging app and messaging framework, does Canonical plan on supporting other methods to talk other than SMS? I hear talk for XMPP. Is that just to make sure it can be done well, or will there be full XMPP support? I don't know if there will be full XMPP support because that's actually a very broad, very large protocol. I don't know if we're going to try and implement all of that in our messaging framework. But the plan is to support different protocols and even different plug-in backends. So, for example, at least when I was first hearing the talk about this, the plan was to have a simple way to reuse telepathy backends for the messaging framework.
All right. Chloe Wolfie Girl asks, are there plans to make Ubuntu more colorful?
There was a brand new color palette put out that I think introduced some more color into things. I know I'm seeing a lot more greens and blues in my phone than I used to.
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Wow. Okay, I don't see the audio levels on Hangout though.
I can hear you right though.
Yep. All right, let us finish getting through the questions that are there now, and we'll come back around to you.
All right.
All right, 50 Cent is asking, will snaps use more RAM compared to traditionally installed applications? That's a good question, and there's a lot of things that might be a factor in that. You might use a little bit more just because apps will be bundling some libraries that they might otherwise share. If they're the same versions of the same libraries, like if they're binary the same, then I think there's something in the kernel that will actually merge those spaces in memory so that you're not having the same data in there twice. But that's very low level stuff that I don't know too much about. You can go into hash snappy on Freenode and ask there, and they might pass you off to like Ubuntu Devel or something like that to get more specific answers. Right. Chloe's asking. Go ahead.
About new notifications. I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I think she or somebody else asked about this in one of the previous Q&As, and I hadn't heard anything about there being new notifications. All right, Chloe's asking, will we get universal search back? We used to have it in the phone ages ago before the list of scopes update, and we have it in Unity 7. I don't think there's a plan for that. That was tied in with the whole smart scopes, online scopes framework that never quite got to the level of usability that we envisioned it getting to. So I don't think that will be coming back, unfortunately.
Okay, looks like we're having a bit of a political questions next. Chloe asked, what are your thoughts about Google supporting the TPP? And because they do, will you change anything you do with Google?
So I've tried to stay out of the whole TPP discussion just because I have not yet taken the time to actually read what's in that agreement. I've heard a lot of things from both sides that are, as expected, they're playing up the things that support their own cause. So I'm going to avoid saying anything or taking sides on that until I'm actually familiar with what I'm talking about.
Right. Do you know if any of the agreement texts are available at all? Like, is there more transparency, like with the TTIP and CETA agreements?
I think it might be available now that it's actually gotten to a final draft that's being discussed by the countries involved. I would have to go and look. I mean, somebody's getting copies of it somewhere because I know like the EFF has been talking about some of the things in it.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is the best place to talk about it. I mean, I've read a bit about the agreements that are being negotiated with Europe, and there seems to be a lot of source for concerns. But I'm not sure if this is the best place.
Yeah, probably not. Not the best forum for it, at least for that kind of long, detailed discussion.
Exactly.
All right, moving on. Officially is asking, is there any news on a new BQ phone? I have not heard any news about a new BQ phone. That the tablet, the M10 tablet, has just come out, and that was the last device that I knew anything about from BQ. Of course, that doesn't really say much because I'm far from the first person to hear about new devices coming out. So just because I don't know about it doesn't mean there's not something in the pipeline. Given how much BQ has come back with more devices already, it wouldn't surprise me if they've got something in the works.
Erin might ask, any update on the Ubuntu phone being carried in the USA?
No update on that. I think that may require finding a third partner who's already got logistics and FCC certification and a lot of the other things that have to be done before you can officially sell a phone in the US.
Okay. Officially asked, I'm trying to play with Unity 8 but can't install terminal from Ubuntu software. How can you do that? I think for that you need to set up at the SSO thing, like a Ubuntu SSO account. Like
Right, and there
to
was some
set things.
packages. At one point, there were some packages that you had to install to get the Click Store working in Unity 8. But I think that's all fixed now and part of the default session. If you still can't get it, I've got a copy on my people.ubuntu.com. Let me get you a link to that real quick. So you could always just download it and manually install it from there. Here we go. It's a slightly older version, but it should still work for you. At least that's what I used when I was dogfooding Unity 8.
Okay.
All right.
Chloe asked, will the Ubuntu phone be announced in around an hour? OP3 event is then, and though I doubt, I'd love to see Ubuntu as an option on the phone.
I would love to see Ubuntu as an option on the phone too.
Yeah.
OnePlus is one of those partners that I think would be a good fit for Canonical and for the Ubuntu community.
Yeah.
But in the end, it all comes down to money and them being able to make some off of it. So they need to see the demand from users. If you want to see an Ubuntu OnePlus phone, please, everybody, start sending them emails telling them that. All right. Officially asked, how will Steam Game run on Mir? It will run excellently. No, I'm kidding. It should be just fine. There may be some changes that they have to make. I don't know how much the games expect to have X11 and how much they just get handed an OpenGL reference from the Steam app itself. So I don't know, but most of them talk directly to OpenGL anyway, so there shouldn't be much issue going from X11 to Mir for that.
Cool. 50 Cent asked if Ubuntu Touch will allow for greater configuration in the future. The question was about setting like custom alarms or they wanted their phone to vibrate when the wife calls. I would suggest finding a bug report and explaining why this is so important to you. I've had very good luck with that in the past. Just bring it up there.
Right. I think in general, more configuration is going to be the direction we go, but we're limited in terms of how much developer time we have to put towards adding new customization as opposed to implementing important features and capabilities in the phone. So the best way to make sure that you have all these options that you have is to learn how to contribute code patches to actually make that happen. The more people from the community we have who are capable of doing that and actually working on it, the more of these things we'll be able to implement in the future. All right, we're starting to get a lot of questions. Do we want to give Erin a few minutes before we carry on?
Sure. It's good.
Erin, is your mic working now?
It should be, hopefully.
All right. All right, so tell us about the Ubuntu Florida team and Miami events, or South Florida, I should say, because you're kind of all over there, aren't you?
Yeah, try to be. I've been organizing a few Ubuntu hour meetups where we meet up for, well, more than an hour usually at local small businesses to discuss Ubuntu and stuff that we've been having on with Ubuntu. And we always have stickers and stuff with Ubuntu's logo on, like hats or laptops. Maybe a watch or two to advertise that we have Ubuntu, we use Ubuntu, and we're open for questions. If someone has any questions about using it, thinking of switching or problems. I've released I've organized 2 release parties down here so far with pretty good success, I think. And if you want to talk about self,
Let's keep talking about the Loco team, actually. Florida's one of the few teams who have started using the new Meetup.com accounts. Have you found that you've gotten new people joining your meetups through that?
there's almost every single day it seems like there's people joining. A lot of them seem to be in the Orlando area, but a few have been riding along, joining the ride every week or so. New people show up at every event so often. I think it's pretty good. I've personally used Meetup before then for other tech events, and I think the integration is pretty nice. And it works to grab more people along.
All right, so Meetup is something that we've started offering to Loco teams just this past year. If anybody's involved in a Loco team and runs any local events and you want to start using Meetup for those, please contact the Loco Council. It's loco-council@list.ubuntu.com, I believe. And tell them that you'd like to get a chapter account set up for your Loco team.
If you want to look for the Florida Loco, it's meetup.com/UbuntuFL. And the Twitter account's the same.
And I think if you go to meetup.com/Ubuntu or /pro/Ubuntu, you'll see all of the Loco teams that are using it also. So Erin, what kind of venues have you used for your events? And how hard has it been to find those?
It's been mixing around from donuts to coffee shops to grilled cheese places. It's not that difficult. I've seen some places around me that I'm like, oh, that looks like a great spot. And I would go in there and ask them, like, how many people can I usually bring in, and what's the space look like to fit people if 1 or 2 more people show than I'm expecting. And see how the owners can work with me to have maybe more space or space reserved and stuff like that. And they're always welcoming you to bring events like that, since it brings in more revenue and stuff for their businesses.
All right, so any advice for somebody who's maybe a member of their Loco team, but not somebody who's been running events and wants to get started doing this?
It's pretty easy. It's just think of your general friends that you hang out with, like, oh, that looks like a cool spot to hang out with my friends, and just schedule a meetup there, and somebody might just pop in and be like, oh, I see you're using Ubuntu. It's quite easy to get started, and it just takes one meeting to start the ball rolling.
All right. If anybody has questions for Erin about any of the things he's involved in or about Loco teams and meetups specifically, please start asking them. And in the meantime, we will try and get through some more of these questions.
Is there any feedback from anything? I should mute it?
Yeah, if you can just mute your microphone until there's a question for you.
All right.
All right, it looks like the next question was from Chloe. She's asking if Ubuntu got a majority of the market share, will Canonical be able to tell OEMs what to do? If so, could we have a rule saying 1 tree planted for every Ubuntu phone sold? If we got a majority of all the smartphone market share, then yeah, we would probably have some ability to tell OEMs what to do. I think there would be a limit to that. I don't know if we can actually enforce a rule about planting trees.
As much as I would like that, I don't see that happening either. And I don't exactly know what the conversations are like with OEMs, but in general, we're making the software work so it works on a lot of different phones, and that's sort of our role in what we're doing. Don't know if that helps, but I think that clarifies the position of the Ubuntu project somehow.
All right, the next question is about when will we get colored emojis? I don't know if it's official, but I think So, I know somebody's been working on color emojis for Ubuntu, and I want to say it was Michael Sheldon.
It was
But I'm not.
also, yeah, go ahead.
I'm not sure how you would go about installing those.
Yeah, me neither. I seem to remember that there was a post by OMG Ubuntu about it.
Oh, I missed
Maybe
that
that
one. Maybe
helps.
there's instructions in there on how to get them.
Right. There was also the question if it was color or color. OU or O.
Yeah, I think she started the whole American English versus British English uh, debate in one of the previous Q&As over tea and biscuits.
Right. So Americanish, that's
Yeah,
just the O, right?
there you go. We'll just drop the O and leave only the U. That way we can be wrong for everybody.
Sounds fair.
Right. Officially asked, is it possible to move the Unity 8 launcher to the bottom? That is not currently possible in Unity 8. I don't know what the plans are for that. Maybe the same person who implemented it in Unity 7 will do it for Unity 8. Should be a lot easier for them there, at least.
That's right.
It would be weird on the phone because apps use the bottom edge for a lot of things. So you would have to.
So it would
Apps
be
would
at
have to
least
take that into account. Yeah,
so it would at least be a two-line patch somewhere.
at least a 2-line patch. Yeah.
Okay, Sep3BQM10HD asked, what happened to the fancy default backgrounds, I mean of animals? The Intrepid Ibex, the Hardy Heron, etc. Really, that's been about 6 years now.
Yeah, I think we only had those two actually,
Yeah,
at least as the default wallpaper.
default, yes. If you have a look at the different Ubuntu wallpapers packages, because it's not just Ubuntu wallpapers, but also Ubuntu wallpapers - release name.
I think it's release name - wallpapers actually.
There you go. There were quite a few contributed by non-canonical people, so not by the core design team, which featured loads of release animals. So I would have a look there. You're going to find quite a few.
And just recently, somebody has been making some very colorful mascot art for the Ubuntu phones. Alan was showing us that a few weeks ago when we were at OSCON. There's a Quetzal, there's a salamander, there's I don't remember which other ones there were, but there were several of them, and they're very brightly colored and ornately detailed, and they look beautiful.
Yeah. It's been just too many years of Ubuntu, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of releases.
That's
All right, 50 Cent is asking, what about a swipeable keyboard in Ubuntu Touch? So the Ubuntu Touch keyboard is based off of Mallet, and I believe there's some work on a swipeable keyboard that's also built on Mallet. So that is a possibility in the future.
sounds good. Okay, another question about any other manufacturers looking at putting out an Ubuntu phone or Ubuntu tablet. Yes, there's lots and lots of interest. There's lots and lots of discussions, but Mike and I work on the community team, which is on the hippie end of the spectrum in Canonical, and we usually don't get that information. And even if we did, we probably would get in trouble for saying anything here. So I wouldn't expect any of those news to happen here. It's more something for the manufacturer, for the company who's producing the phones to announce. So why don't ask them?
Yeah, I mean, that's our standard answer, is when a manufacturer is coming out with a new phone or a new model of phone, that's their product, and they get to announce it when and where they want. It's not something that we should be doing and spoiling their announcements.
Yeah.
All right, Dragon77 asks, how are Linus and Stallman in person?
I haven't met either of them.
haven't either. I saw Stallman talk last year at FaucetCon, but I was just sitting in the audience. I didn't speak to him personally. How about you, Aaron? Did you talk to Richard Stallman there?
I saw him walk in to get his ID because I was helping Brian at the front desk. And everyone kind of like kept their space between him, and he was very convinced into what he believes, which is not a terrible thing. But I don't know. He later asked if he's like if he's off camera like he is. If he's walking around barefoot and playing with his feet like he is in videos, then yes, it is true.
All right, moving on from that. Officially is asking how to install Ubuntu Core Ubuntu apps on 16.04 and Unity 7. There's not currently an easy way, but I think we can start to snap some of those either now or in the near future and start getting them in the store.
Maybe I misunderstood the question. Is this Ubuntu Core apps? So phone.
That's what I'm thinking anyway.
Right. So
officially, if you're not talking about the core phone apps, please specify.
Right. So two of them have been snapped already. The clock and the calculator, and they're even in the Ubuntu store. So if you do just type snap find, and it will give you a list of all the available snaps, and then you just do sudo snap install something. Or if you use GNOME software, you should be able to search in there as well. And join the playpen.
Yes, join the playpen. Help us make these things happen. All right, Chloe's asking, Xbox and Windows are becoming closer, and Microsoft is paying for Windows 10 exclusives. Do you worry about SteamOS and gaming on Linux? I don't worry about it because I don't use it. I think that's something that we can leave to Valve to worry about and work with their game developers to make sure that gaming on Linux is still continuing to grow and get better.
Okay, the next question is to you. Which phone are you currently running Ubuntu Touch?
I am currently running it on a Nexus 4 because that's my personal phone.
Yeah, for me it's the Meizu MX4, but I currently sent it off for repairs because the power button didn't work anymore.
Oh, so did you finally send that off to get fixed?
So I'm back to this one.
All right, Chloe is asking, with what's happened with the Ubuntu Instagram scope, is Canonical going to look at bringing more open source options to Ubuntu Phone, or still try bringing some proprietary services to Ubuntu phones? What has happened to the Instagram scope? I don't use Instagram much, so I've missed something, it seems.
Me neither. I think there was something with some API. Oh, Erin, do you know?
Yeah, the APIs got closed. There was a deadline. I think it was June 1st was a deadline that Instagram was closing the APIs that the scope used. I think, oh my god, Ubuntu did a little story on it. If anybody wants to do further reading on it.
Okay.
Yeah, although I don't have any additional detail, I would like to comment on the question as well, because obviously the question if a service is proprietary or open and open source makes sense. But in general, I think we want to build a platform which is useful to users. So depending on which services users use, you have to have an app or a scope, or at least offer something where they can do what they're doing all the time. So I would expect more services being on Ubuntu, being proprietary or not.
Yeah, I think that's just going to be something we're going to have to continue to deal with as it happens. And hopefully as we gain more market share and things like this become something provided by the actual service provider. So if Instagram was providing this Instagram scope, then presumably they would have updated it to keep working. All right, Seb3 asks how to get blue ink off a white/silver phone plastic. A Dremel and a buffer tip, maybe? Just grind off a little bit of that plastic until it's gone. Some whiteout, maybe. Other than that, I really don't know. All right, Nakanet asks, which cloud storage apps or web apps do you use on Ubuntu phone? So I use an app called UDrop Cabin. That's a native app that interfaces with my Dropbox account. It doesn't automatically sync files, but it does let me manually download and upload stuff whenever I need it. So that's come in handy on quite a few occasions where I have put stuff up in Dropbox, and when I needed it later, I was able to just find it and download it easily. Right, DS McGuire's asking, is the fingerprint scanner to unlock the Pro 5 and OTA 12 target? I know it is being worked on. I don't know what the current target is, whether that's OTA 12 or 13 or something further down the road. Probably the Ubuntu phone mailing list is a good place to ask that question.
Yeah, I'm just checking Launchpad. I will let you know in a bit.
All right, Farah1 is asking, will you support Swift programming language in Ubuntu Touch? So the big thing to get a programming language working for Ubuntu Touch development is getting Qt bindings for it. If you can use that language to build Qt apps, then there should be no problem using it for Ubuntu Touch. Most of the Ubuntu-specific APIs that we provide are also done through Qt. So again, if you have that binding, you should be good to go. I know there was some work on getting Go to work with Ubuntu Touch apps, but they had some problem, some philosophical mismatch between Go and Qt, I think, was preventing that.
I couldn't find the bug report about the fingerprint reader easily, but I give the link to the OTA 12 milestone. So just check Launchpad and see if you can find it there. Loads and loads of great stuff though. So OTA 12 should be good.
All right, Sub3 is asking, how hot is it generally here in Florida? I always seem to have my fan spinning around in the background. So to give you an idea of how hot it was around 25 degrees Celsius when the sun rose this morning. And I don't know what the humidity is, but it's got to be only a few degrees off of 100% because I was outside for just a few minutes and I was already sweating.
Wow.
And as my coworker, who lives just a little bit away from me, pointed out, we're still 9 days away from the start of summer. So yeah, expect to see this fan on quite a bit until about November. All right, Music App is asking Spotify service integration. It's still on the list for me. I know there was some work on streaming for the Music app, but I don't know if Spotify was one of those. The big problem with those things is getting them to play in the background without the app itself running in the background. We provide something called Media Hub that lets you hand off music playback to a GStreamer backend, and that'll work for anything that GStreamer supports. And I think that includes some streaming protocols, but I don't think Spotify is one of those. right, Eamon says, as Mac Airbook and MacBook Pros are the developers' laptops seen in most US conferences, and there are videos on YouTube exemplifying Ubuntu 14.04 on MacBooks. When shall Ubuntu Insights pick up on this and give a cast iron method for getting Ubuntu on MacBook Pro Air for the fanboys? It's time. Is there anything specific you have to do to get Ubuntu on those? I know at one point there was, but I think now with them being on x86 and us supporting UEFI, doesn't it just work?
The only thing I can imagine might not be working is a web camera, but I know there's been solutions of just pulling the driver software and loading it on Linux without much issues. I know about newer ones, though.
If there is any specific work that needs to be done, then I think the appropriate place for that is on help.ubuntu.com rather than Insights. And that's a wiki that, if you're part of the docs team, you can help maintain. Farah1 is asking, now are you using Unity 8? I am not currently, no. I'm back on Unity 7. I switched off of that. So for those who don't know, I ran Unity 8 for about 10 days just to test it out and see what works and what doesn't and how far I could get with it. And I need to still write a wrap-up of that. But I did switch back to Unity 7 when I started working more on snaps because I was building apps that are meant to be run under Unity 7. So obviously I needed to be able to test it there. Chloe's asking when Ubuntu will have all the market share.
I don't know. But looking at the general usage of open source software, I think if we just count ourselves as part of that movement, there's a lot of. I mean, we're getting closer and closer every day.
And I don't think that's actually a goal. I mean, as an open source project, I wouldn't want Ubuntu to have all the market share, and I don't expect that it ever could, that there will always be somebody who's taking what we've done and building something different on top of that that's going to fill a niche better than we do.
Yeah, absolutely fair.
All right, Dragonbite asks, are locos able to get swag for promoting, and what kinds? So Erin, you've gotten some swag for your events. Can you tell us what you got?
I've gotten stickers, awesome notebooks, pens, DVDs to have for release parties, Ubuntu hours, and also, can't think of the name, they're usually in February. I can't think of the name of the thing. They're usually in February and they're for like focusing on development stuff or doc stuff.
Oh, Global Jams.
Yeah, Global Jams. I've gotten things for Global Jams to host some of those too.
So what is the process that you go through to request that?
If your local is verified, if you're a Ubuntu member, you can make the request for your loco and get it sent to you to organize those type of events and have them and have fun and spread Ubuntu.
All right. Looks like the next one is for you also, from Amon. Says, Erin, what support in terms of physical products did you receive from Canonical for the UbuCon and Florida Loco groups separately?
I didn't go to UbuCon, but for the Florida Loco, it's basically what I just said before with the DVDs, pens, stickers, all the stuff to help promote Ubuntu in Florida, and that sort of stuff.
We had an UbuCon in Florida last November as part of FaucetCon.
Oh yeah, I just keep thinking UbuCon is those super big events, not the one in the middle of other conferences.
Yeah. So between that and also just booths at things like FaucetCon, Self, and Texas Linux Fest, we have sent phones and some other devices around to those booths so that the people running them have something to show off.
Oh yeah, Nicholas sent me his Nexus 7 for a conference in Fort Lauderdale area as well, and for one of the global hack jams, I believe. So that's also products and stuff that you can have, so you can show off convergence or other features and apps that you would be working on that you didn't have a physical device to test and showcase.
Okay, Chloe's asking, she says, someone posted on Google Plus commands to change your background on scopes. Have you changed your scope background yet? So it's a little bit more complicated than just commands right now, because it is hard-coded in the dash itself. I did actually change that at one point to, if you've been watching the phone for a while, you'll remember we originally had a kind of purple-orange gradient background similar to the desktop. That was the background for the scopes in the dash. And that was changed a couple years ago to the gray one that we have now. And a while back, I actually changed it back to the purple one by replacing those images on the phone itself. The problem is that the text and some of the other UI bits expect to have a light-colored background. And so if you put a darker one on there, it doesn't work well. Or you put something with a lot of detail on it, it's going to make it harder to read those things. So as far as I know, there's not a plan to change that right now, mostly because getting it to work well for whatever background somebody might use is going to be a big challenge.
Somebody wants to convince you to play video games, Mike. How can they do that?
All right, so the easiest way to convince me to play video games is to either add a few more hours to every day or add a couple of days to every week. Because right now, it's not that I'm not interested, it's just that I don't even have enough time to do the things that I'm more interested in doing than video games. And I'll be honest, even if you did that, I would probably spend all of that time writing code instead of playing games. Sorry.
Yeah, I guess I would reply similarly.
Right, Seb3 is asking, Microsoft has bought LinkedIn for a lot. I knew about that already, or that apparently they did, but finally the BBC News TV had it last night. What do you guys think about that story? So, $26 billion is a mind-boggling amount of money.
Yes.
Especially for a site that I never use. So I'm sure that they see a value in it. I'm sure somebody's gone through the math and decided that 26 billion is a reasonable number for this company.
And that's in that's in cash, not like shares or anything. That's in cash that they had on hand.
Yeah.
For the company and the data probably.
Probably.
Or very likely.
Yeah. But that kind of thing's right up there with watching foreign currency markets in my level of interest. So we will see if this changes the emails that I get, people inviting me to join their LinkedIn network. All right, T Simon Q2 asks, what release and/or flavor of Ubuntu do you run and why? So, Erin, why don't you start off with that one?
I run Ubuntu on my desktop and laptop because I prefer the KDE desktop environment. For customization, KRunner. Yeah, I found this.
All right, are you back, Erin?
Yeah, sorry about that. Just because it's very easy on displays that I have 3 displays right now as well. And I like the community that I'm involved with in Ubuntu as well.
And what version are you running right now?
1604 on both machines, with the nice backport PPA for a 5.6 plasma release.
How about you, Daniel?
For me, it's 1604, regular Ubuntu everywhere. It's just what I always install. Normally, I would have upgraded to Yakety already, to the next development release, but as Snapcraft and Snapd are currently targeting 1604, and I'm not quite sure how this is going to interact with Yakety. I'm still staying on Xenial for now.
Yeah, same for me. Vanilla Ubuntu, 1604 on my laptop and my kid's computer, which is on the other side of the room there. And then I've got a home server that's still on 1404, waiting for that LTS update.
Okay.
All right, 50 Cent is asking if I get LTE on my Nexus 4. So for those who don't know, the Nexus 4 actually has an LTE radio, but it was disabled in firmware by Google. There is a ROM that you can flash onto that will re-enable it, and I did that for about a week, and it made everything horribly unstable. I did get LTE service for about 30 minutes in one city on the other side of the country from me. So it does actually work. It just it makes it all of the network stuff, both Wi-Fi and mobile data, very unstable. So I ended up flashing it back to the stock radio firmware.
All right.
We only have 2 minutes left, actually, and we've got a bunch of questions.
Maybe we just answer the 2 or 3 more. Sep3 asked, what phones have you flashed in general, and with what and why? For me, it was a Nexus 4, Galaxy Nexus, and an MX4. And it was always different versions of Ubuntu Touch, and it should be obvious why. Anything on your list you would add?
Sorry, what was the question again? I was responding to somebody else.
Right. On which phones did you flash what and why?
So I've only flashed a few. Mostly it's been Nexus 4s over and over because I've got both my personal Nexus 4 and 2 others that are used for demos at various conferences. So I've reflashed those pretty often to keep them clean and up to date. I did flash the Oppo Find 5, I think it was, a few years ago. Oppo actually donated us one to use as a giveaway for a contest to whoever could port to it. So I got to flash that a few times until somebody had a working ROM. And then I've also been flashing a Fairphone 2 more recently because I've been working with Mario Grip to port Ubuntu to that. But that's really all I've flashed so far.
Right, and last question from Sep3 is about crowdfunding. And Puppy, who isn't on the show today, does a lot of crowdfunding. But Sep3 wants to know if we ever supported any campaigns. For me, yes, but it's mostly been non-tech stuff. So in terms of tech, I supported the Ubuntu Edge, obviously, but all the other ones were NGOs who wanted to do this or that, or people I know who were doing some crowdfunding for their own organization. Not sure if that's of interest.
So the one thing I have crowdfunded recently has been the Mycroft Kickstarter, and I've got their the developer SDK for it right here, waiting to go on my son's Raspberry Pi so we can start playing with that. And the Mycroft guys have been really good about updating the backers and getting their stuff out on time. So kudos to them. All right, and with that, it looks like we are out of time. Thank you, everybody, for all your great questions. I'm sorry we couldn't get to them all today. You can either come back next week, same place, same channel, same time, and we will answer them there, or you could join us in one of the many Ubuntu IRC chat rooms or mailing lists and ask them there. And again, if you're interested in Snappy, head on over to the Gitter channel, and we will see you there and help you get your snaps started.
Brilliant.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Erin,
Mike.
for coming on today.
Thanks, Erin.
Thanks for having me, guys, and thanks for all the good questions.
All right, see you all next week.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.